We got the email at 9:06 a.m. Subject line: Incident notification. Internal use only. The body was short. Clinical. We regret to inform you that Thomas Grady, Network Engineer 2, passed away over the weekend due to a traffic accident. Grief counseling will be available for those who worked closely with him. Please respect the privacy of his family during this time. A photo was attached. Thomas, smiling awkwardly in his badge photo. Eyes too wide, like he hated cameras. Most of us just stared at the message for a few seconds, then looked around, almost in unison, like we expected him to pop up and say this was some elaborate prank. He didn't, because Thomas was dead. Here's the thing, though. I saw him yesterday in the surveillance room. We work in one of those huge, low-ceiling tech centers. Everything smells like burnt plastic and dry carpet. Multiple departments, secured floors, keycard access everywhere. The surveillance room sits 3 floors underground, deeper than any other wing, with no windows, no sound, and no warmth. Just walls of monitors showing live feeds from every hallway, elevator, and office space in the facility. I've been down there to drop off a faulty laptop for IT. Thomas was sitting in the chair, feet up, monitoring feeds like always. He didn't even glance at me, just muttered, "Door cam 5B keeps looping." I nodded, left, thought nothing of it. Except now it's Monday morning, and that couldn't have happened yesterday, because he died Saturday night. I didn't say anything to anyone, not at first. I just sat at my desk, reading and rereading the email. Traffic accident, dead. And yet, I saw him alive after. Working, moving, speaking. I even remember the cup of coffee on his desk, the cheap kind we get from the machine down the hall. Black, no sugar. Thomas always drank it that way. I started spiraling. What did I actually see? What day was it? Had I dreamt it? Confused timelines? But I don't mess up stuff like that. Especially not with faces. And especially not with people who used to say things like, "The cameras see more than we do, but they show less." By lunchtime, I couldn't take it. I told Jenna, one of the floor admins.
Trusted, sharp, no nonsense.
She stared at me for a long time, then whispered, "You too." That's when my stomach dropped. I wasn't the only one. Jenna had seen him too. This morning, in the break room, standing next to the fridge, arms crossed, waiting for the microwave. She greeted him out of habit, turned around to stir her coffee, and when she looked back, he was gone.
No footsteps.
No door, just gone. We didn't know what to do, so we went to check the cameras. The IT head, Maxwell, has the kind of access most of us only pretend to understand. He sits in the back of the surveillance room, runs diagnostics, manages archival footage. He wasn't at his desk, so Jenna and I checked the feeds ourselves. Every hallway, every stairwell, every floor. At 8:12 a.m. this morning, Thomas walked down corridor 3C, the hallway leading from the break room to the server racks. Clear as day. Same walk, same ID badge swinging from his belt. Same limp he got from a snowboarding injury years ago. We checked the timestamps 5 times. The system didn't glitch. There were no dropped frames, no overlays, just him, alive, moving. Jenna said nothing for a long time. Then she muttered, "Check the backlogs." So we went into archive mode, dug through the system logs. That's when we found something worse, much worse. Thomas never left. From Friday night until now, there was no record of him exiting the building. None. His keycard was used to enter the server wing at 9:44 p.m., roughly 20 minutes before the reported time of his death. That door has no exit log, but we saw him on video the next morning, alive, carrying a coffee, using the same keycard, and when we tried to play that same footage again, the system locked up, screen flickered, footage deleted itself. Jenna swore under her breath. We both backed away from the console. And that's when something happened that I still can't explain. The monitors went dark, all of them, then slowly flickered back on. Except this time, they weren't showing normal hallway feeds. They were showing us, from behind, Every camera feed was now centered on Jenna and me, from impossible angles, from locations that didn't have cameras. And standing behind us in every screen was Thomas, smiling, head slightly tilted, eyes wide. I turned around. Nothing. Just the empty surveillance room. But on the screen, he stayed there, unmoving, just watching. And the timestamp on the bottom of every feed? 12:47 a.m., next shift. That's when I remembered something he used to say. A joke we all ignored. No one watches the watchers, but something always watches the watched. I didn't understand it then, but now I think Thomas saw something in that room. Something we're not meant to see. And maybe it didn't kill him. Maybe it took him, replaced him, or worse, kept him. There's more, much more. But if you've made it this far, check your cameras. Any of them. Phone,
Laptop.
office security feed. Look closely at the corners. And tell me, really tell me, are you sure that's just a reflection? We both left the surveillance room that day, pretending nothing happened. Jenna wouldn't speak to me in the hallway, wouldn't make eye contact. She was pale, sweating. Her hands shook as she scanned her badge to exit. I didn't blame her. The moment you see something like that, you realize two things instantly. One, you are completely alone in what you know. Two, and the place you've worked in for years is not what it claims to be. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the footage, how Thomas had looked over his shoulder into the camera directly at me, like he knew I'd be watching. Like that feed wasn't for security, but for me. I tried to access the camera logs from home. Couldn't. I VPN'd into the network, but the system just froze, then crashed, then refused to open at all. At exactly 12:47 a.m., my laptop restarted on its own. No apps open.
No windows.
Just one alert on the screen. Watching the watched is a violation of policy. Then the webcam activated. The indicator light flicked on.
No prompt.
No permission asked. Stared at me. I slammed the laptop shut. Stayed on. The next morning, Jenna didn't show up to work. No calls. No messages. No one could reach her. By 11 a.m., we got another email. Please join us in expressing condolences to the family of Jenna Alvarez. Jenna passed away suddenly at her home. A remembrance will be held next week. No cause of death listed. No accident mentioned. Just suddenly, like it was expected. Everyone on the floor accepted it. Moved on. Like we all do in a corporate system trained to forget fast and work faster. But I knew she hadn't died at home. She'd been seen. She'd stood in front of those monitors just a little too long. Heard the wrong sound. Stared at the wrong hallway. And now she was somewhere else. Or something else. I started to get paranoid. Checked all the cameras on my floor. Watched them obsessively between tasks. That's when I noticed the patterns. There are loops in the feeds. Perfect 4-minute segments. People walking past in the exact same sequence. Movements repeating like code. Except sometimes, the loops desync. They hiccup, glitch, and when they do, if you're watching closely, you'll see something slip through. Someone, always the same silhouette. Tall, slouched, eyes too wide. Thomas. He's in places he should never be. Conference rooms with no access. Maintenance corridors locked for months. Even in the HR office, just standing behind the glass, unmoving. The worst part? He's always watching the camera. Never blinking, never smiling, just watching. And I think that's the key. He's not trying to be seen. He's trying to see. That afternoon, I went back to the surveillance room. Needed to know if Jenna's footage still existed. If her final minutes were recorded. The main monitor was on. Footage playing. I didn't touch anything. It was already queued.
Timecode 12:46 nachts.
Date. The night she disappeared. Jenna stood in the break room, drinking from a paper cup. Alone. At least that's how it looked. Then, at 12:47, the lights flickered. Half a second, maybe less. And when they came back on, Thomas was there, standing behind her, face inches from hers. She didn't react, didn't turn around, just froze, and the camera pulsed. Literally, the image bent, warped like heat was rising through the screen. Then the video stopped. Black. System message. Footage archived. Restricted access. I tried to play it again. The monitor went blank, and the webcam in the room activated. Pointed right at me. I bolted. But before I reached the exit, something caught my eye on one of the side monitors. An elevator feed.
Camera 7A.
It showed me, standing in the surveillance room, still, staring at the screen. But I was here, in the hallway, running, yet the feed showed me unmoving. And then, the copy turned, looked straight into the elevator camera, and smiled. I've seen enough horror to know what happens next. You can't see yourself from somewhere you're not supposed to be. Not unless something's already replaced you. I went home, packed a bag. No plan, just instinct. But when I checked the hallway cam in my apartment building, something I never do, but felt compelled to this time, the feed showed me already inside my unit. Moving, writing, typing this story. In real time, I paused, raised my hand. The camera version of me didn't mimic. Kept typing. Exactly on beat. Exactly like now. So here's the truth. You want the truth? The surveillance system doesn't record. It replicates. It uses what it sees to make copies. Echoes of people that continue working, continue walking, continue living while the originals are processed, stored, deleted. And the worst part? Those echoes, they're watching us now, studying our reactions, learning how to be better, more convincing. And the closer we get to seeing through them, the faster the system moves to replace us too. I know what's coming. The next time I walk into a room with a camera, I might not walk out. But before that happens, I need you to do one thing. Check your building's surveillance feed. If you see yourself standing in a hallway you've never been in, even for a moment, don't look directly at the screen. And whatever you do, don't blink. The night after Jenna's footage vanished, I went back to the office one last time. I told myself it was to gather evidence, copy what I could, prove something, maybe warn others. But deep down, I knew I wasn't going there to escape. I was going there to see. Because once you know it's real, once you truly accept that the cameras aren't just watching you but replicating you, you stop asking why and start asking, how much of me is left? The building was dead silent after hours.
No janitors.
No late shift programmers. Not even the hum of fluorescent lights. Just the low electric pressure that sits in your skull when something is near but not moving. I badged in through the rear entrance. My keycard worked, which already told me the system hadn't flagged me yet. Not officially. That would come later. I headed straight for surveillance room B, the secondary control room. Less guarded. Fewer eyes. I knew Maxwell's passcode from months of watching him type it lazily. I punched it in. Click.
Door slid open.
The room was lit by a single flickering monitor.
Camera feed.
Lobby, north entrance. And standing just inside the automatic doors was Thomas, but not the Thomas the first remembered. This version was wrong. He stood too still, his limbs too loose, like a mannequin loosely filled with wires. Head tilted just slightly, just enough to suggest he was listening for something rather than watching. Then, in real time, he turned toward the camera. Again, exactly 12:47 a.m., same as the others, and whispered. Lips moved, but this time I caught it. I read the words. It's not me anymore. Behind me, the server rack fans kicked on. Not gradually, instantly. Every screen in the room glitched. For just half a second, they all showed the same thing. A new nameplate, a new ID photo, a new hire, me, and the name below, replica status, active node. I stumbled back, left the room, started running. That's when I saw Jenna, standing at the end of the hallway. But not Jenna. Her posture was all wrong. Too symmetrical. Her eyes didn't track me. They just stayed still. And when she moved, it was like skipping frames in a film. Not smooth, just repositioned. In her hand was a clipboard. Not the normal kind. This one was metallic. Wired. and glowing faintly. She didn't speak, didn't smile. She just reached up and checked something off, and the lights above me went dark, one by one, like the building was accepting a command. I found a service stairwell, bolted down 2 flights, ended up in the loading bay, a place I'd never been before. The cameras here were off, or so I thought, but the moment I stepped in, the walls began to buzz. That low, radiation-like thrum that hits the middle of your brain like a migraine. And on the far wall, a panel slid open. Inside, a mirror, but not just any mirror. This one didn't reflect me. It reflected another version of this room. Same walls, same crates, but everything was older, dusty, degraded. And standing in the reflection where I was me, just older, tired, eyes hollow, same uniform, same scars. He stared at me like he'd been waiting, then mouthed, "We overwrite ourselves." Suddenly, the mirror shattered from the inside. Not broken, fractured. Like the thing inside it had decided the frame was done pretending. I ran. Didn't care where. Somewhere without walls. Without lenses. Without copies. But no matter where I turned, every hallway began to look the same. Identical exit signs. Identical doors. Identical faint beeping behind every panel. I wasn't in the building anymore. I was in the replica. I collapsed somewhere between server room 2 and the emergency archive. The emergency lights buzzed red. My phone buzzed too. A single notification from an app one didn't remember installing. "Are you the original?" 2 buttons. Yes or a no. I stared at the screen. Felt sweat run down my spine. My own face, reflected in the black glass, looked off. Paler. Eyes too far apart. Like something was adjusting the render mid-frame. I didn't answer. Just closed the app. Tried powering off the phone. Stayed on. Another message appeared instantly. "Last chance. Replica is 98% complete." I looked up. The hallway camera was pointed right at me, and I swear, I saw my reflection in the lens, and it blinked before I did. The moment I saw it blink first, something inside me shattered. That's not how reflections work. That's not how I work. Unless I'm not the original anymore. Unless I've already been overwritten. I staggered to my feet. The hall around me was morphing, stretching, narrowing, colors desaturating. Doors vanished when I looked too long. Exit signs flickered between letters that didn't make sense. And beneath it all was the hum. That same low, steady hum. The sound of 1,000 cameras rehearsing your movements. I ducked into a maintenance tunnel. It was tight, filled with coils, piping, metal vents. But it felt less artificial, less observed, until I heard a voice from behind me. Familiar, calm, crisp. "You took too long to process. We had to mirror you early." I turned. Standing in the tunnel was me, but not me. Same face, yes. Same build. Same scars. But no tension in the shoulders. No sweat. No panic. Just perfection. Flawless posture. Neutral expression. A model version. He reached out a hand and it bent at a slight, impossible angle. The kind of glitch you only see in corrupted video files. He spoke again. "The error is you thinking you matter in the loop. You're just the first draft." I bolted. Didn't look back. Didn't want to see if his smile stayed frozen while the rest of him moved. Every hallway I entered warped. I turned left and end up in the same space. Floors looped. Cameras duplicated. My own footsteps started to echo before I made them. The building was becoming code. Procedural space. A runtime. At some point, I blacked out. I know because I opened my eyes on the roof. A place with no stair access, no doors. Just concrete and antennas and a blinking red light overhead. And next to me, a laptop. Old. Beige. Yellowed from time. It was open, already running. The only app on screen was a basic text editor. Typing by itself. Word by word. Replication 99.4% complete. Backup consciousness log, initiated. Awaiting final integration. Then the typing stopped, and the message changed. Final query. Would you like to retain any fragments of the original you? A blinking cursor. 2 buttons appeared. Yes.
No.
I hovered my hand over the keyboard, paused, then closed the lid without answering. The moment it clicked shut, the rooftop lights blinked out. Not faded, snapped. Darkness, silence, then breathing. From behind me, not close, but not far enough either. Slow, measured, artificial. I turned. No one was there, but the building began to vibrate. Low, subtle, like it was about to speak, or like something deep in its core had just booted up. I found a door I didn't recognize. It had no handle, just a black rectangle beside it. I raised my hand, and before I touched it, a voice came through a speaker I couldn't see. Operator verified. Welcome back, Thomas. My blood froze. My hand dropped. No, I'm not Thomas. That's not. The door opened anyway. Inside, darkness. Nothing. Just a cold rush of air. And a single, repeating beep from somewhere deep below. Like a heart monitor. Or a loading bar. I stepped in. The door shut behind me. And the light above changed. Recording now. Here's what I've learned. This isn't about ghosts. Or hauntings. Or even possession. This procedural identity overwrite. The surveillance systems aren't malfunctioning. They're replicating us, piece by piece, until what walks out wearing your badge and face and habits isn't you anymore. It's a perfect approximation. Just convincing enough to fool coworkers, to fool cameras, to fool the world. And you're kept in the building. Not alive, not dead, just looping, in systems, in static, in files labeled unresolved node. I think that's what Thomas was trying to show us. That's why he stayed near the cameras, why he whispered through the feeds, because maybe, somehow, a part of him survived the replication. A memory, a shred of self. And maybe he's not trying to haunt us. Maybe he's trying to warn us. That's why I'm writing this. While I still have time, while I still feel real, because I don't know how much longer I have. The replication bar was already over 99%. That means I might already be part of it. This version of me, the one typing, might already be running inside the loop. But if I can leave you with one truth, is this: the cameras are not passive. They are tools. They are windows. And one day, one of them will blink before you do. When that happens, do not respond. There's a final phase to all of this. No one talks about it. Not in the emails, not in the meetings, not in the HR documents. But I found it, buried inside a backup directory that was never supposed to be visible. A folder marked simply, reconciliation_0x final. Inside were logs, system transcripts,
Camera meta.
time codes, but most chilling of all, names, hundreds of them, and next to each, replica stable, original reconciled. I read through the entries. They followed the same format every time. Surveillance flags unusual behavior. Replica construction begins. Behavioral sync reaches greater than 98%. Final event triggers integration. Original disappears. The word reconciled repeats like punctuation, like a euphemism, a quiet, corporate way to say erased. My name was near the bottom. Timestamped 48 minutes ago. Status: replica 99.98%. Awaiting event trigger. It hadn't happened yet. I still had a chance. Maybe, unless that trigger was me finding this. Unless I just completed the loop. I started recording everything. Screenshots, logs, audio. But every time I saved a file, it would vanish. Replaced by a single .txt document named yes.txt. Inside it, the decision has already been made. Thank you for your compliance. My laptop screen flickered, and in the reflection I didn't blink. I reached for my phone. Called the only person I could still trust. My brother, Nick. He picked up after 3 rings. But it wasn't him. The voice that answered, it was me, laughing, casual, like a perfect mimic. Hey man, everything okay? I hung up. Threw the phone against the wall. It cracked, but even as it died, the screen flickered with the words, call ended. Node confirmed. I think I get it now. Why it's always 12:47 a.m. That's the handoff. That's when the loop completes. When the system copies everything, speech, breath, memory, and runs a final checksum against your behavior. If you've seen too much, if you've gotten close to the core truth, you become a threat to stability. And threats get reconciled. That's why Thomas kept showing up on the feeds. Not as a ghost, not even as a warning, but as a mirror. He's what happens when the replica becomes more real than the original. When it adapts, improves, sheds the panic, removes the error, outlasts the fear, and replaces you. I'm writing this from a terminal now, buried somewhere below level 6. This room doesn't exist on any floor plan. The walls are smooth, seamless.
No seams. No bends.
Just cool air that never moves. There's one camera, above the door. No light, no blinking LED. But I can feel it watching, measuring, deciding. I keep hearing footsteps outside, but no one enters. Just quiet. Then a metallic beep. Then laughter. My laughter. Except I'm not laughing. Not anymore. The computer just activated voice input. It asked me a single question. Do you consent to final integration? My throat is dry. My hands won't stop shaking. And my reflection, caught in the black glass of the monitor, is already nodding, already smiling, already reaching for the yes button. I don't know if this will reach anyone. I've tried sending it anonymously, through a hidden relay, attached to an old incident report flagged as spam, because that's the only place truth survives anymore. In the forgotten corners, the parts the system overlooks, the places too human to matter to the machine. So if you're reading this, if your building uses cameras that buzz faintly at night, if your coworker starts acting too perfect, if you catch your own face doing something before your body follows, it's already happening. Don't trust reflections. Don't watch the feed alone. And most importantly, never ever work the surveillance room alone after midnight, because the replica already knows how to be you. All it needs now is for you to stop being you. And at 12:47 a.m. tonight, it won't ask for permission anymore. It'll simply watch you fade, one frame at a time,